we're good here, but here we start to having, see, a little bit of understeer. So you have to touch the brakes a little bit more to stay into the turn. Again here, it just washes out just a tiny bit. See, like this. And then, ooh, power oversteer. You see, if I keep pushing on the accelerator, I get lots of power oversteer. Some understeer again into the turn, and that keeps me slower. All right, so we're gonna go into the pits now, and we're gonna do our final for tonight touch on the setup. It's gonna be on the differential preload. Ooh, scary. All right, so brake, and that's it. Okay, turn to the grass. Setup, go back to tire set 1, lots and lots of tire wear. Preload differential. Why? First of all, why preload differential is so hard to understand? Because it works in two different and opposite ways, depending if you have abundance of torque on your driving wheels or not. Which means that in lower gears it works in a way, and in higher gears it works in the opposite way. That is why it is hard for people to understand. Okay, they say, okay, rule of thumb, more of that gives me more of the other one. Okay, and less of that should give me less of the other one. Then they go into a different turn and it happens the exact opposite. So more of this gives me less of that, and vice versa. This is why preload differential is a generally differential is hard to understand. It works in two different ways depending how much torque you have available and if you can spin or not your driving wheels. So what it does? We will try to explain it with two very different extremes: completely open and completely closed. Okay, good. Now, what we can use? We can use this. Let's use it. Let's use this. Whee! All right. So you have your rear tires. Okay, your the driving rear tires. Now, if you're in a turn and you have a completely open differential, and this is your inner tire, obviously the inner tire will have less load than the outside tire. You give power. Okay, you give power. And at some point, the inner tire that has less load starts spinning. All right, so the inner tire starts spinning. Okay. Now, if the differential is open, completely open, as we say, it will get the power and torque from the engine and will put it all on the wheel that has less resistance. And the one that has less resistance is the one that is spinning. So if that is spinning with an open differential, it will spin even more. Okay, and in the end, if the differential is completely open, the inner wheel will get all the torque from the engine and the outer wheel will get none. The situation is that the car will not move forward much because all the torque will end up into the spinning wheel that has less grip. Okay, and there will be no torque on the outside wheel that has all the grip. Now, that's not the worst scenario that can happen, because it means that the outside wheel that has all the lateral grip to keep the rear end from stepping out, okay, it now doesn't have to produce any longitudinal grip because it doesn't have any torque. Okay, so it can have all the lateral grip that the tire can produce. Okay, so the inner wheel starts spinning. The torque of the engine, because of the open differential, goes all into the spinning wheel, the outside wheel doesn't have any forward force, so it generates all the lateral force it can do, which means that you are not moving forward, but your rear end stays relatively, stable. It doesn't slide sideways. All right? Mm. Now, what happens if we have a closed differential? And by closed, let's say that this time we have completely lock. So the torque goes from the engine to the differential, and the differential always, because it is, fixed, locked, whatever differential, it always gives half the torque on the one side and half the torque on the inner side. Now, the inner side wheel will start wanting to spin because it doesn't have enough power. Okay, sorry, it doesn't have enough grip because it has less load. Okay, so it wants to slip, but that means that the torque doesn't move all to the inner wheel, but half of it goes also to the outside, and so you get your outside wheel that has all the grip necessary to keep the car stable. You have the wheel having to produce as much lateral grip as it can, but also starts to move forward. So it asks also longitudinal grip. And we know that the tire cannot produce the same amount of lateral and longitudinal grip at the same time, which means that if longitudinal grip is asked, then, and produced, of course, then the lateral grip starts to be less. And if the lateral grip is less, then the rear, actually, let me change this to a bigger screen because otherwise, guys, you don't see what I'm doing. So let's move here, like that. Okay, is that better now? Hope so. Yes. So, as we said, uh, if this doesn't produce enough lateral grip because it has also to produce together longitudinal grip, then the rear end starts to slide out. Okay? And this is the power oversteer. Both wheels starting to ask forward grip. No? There is too many of power because you are in a shorter gear, for example. And so the car starts to slide out and goes into power oversteer. Okay, is that clear? Now, um, and this is how V8 supercars move around corners, correct. Now, what happens if there is not enough torque? Hmm? Now, if there is not enough torque to slide one wheel, then both of wheels produce forward grip, okay, at the same way. Because as we said, the differential is completely locked. So both wheels produce grip. Now, if we are at a high speed and we have a high gear and there's not enough torque to spin the tires, okay, so the tires do not spin because they do not have to produce so much longitudinal grip, then the lateral grip is enough to keep the car into stability. Okay, so everything is fine, the car will turn. Not exactly, because if you have both rear wheels pushing forward at the same way, then the car will not only go forwards, but we will push the whole car to go into understeer, because those two tires want to go straight. They do not want to turn, they want to go straight. Okay, so this is why the differential works differently in low gears than in high gears. Okay, again, low gear, if the differential is open, the inner wheel will start sliding and the outside wheel will keep the car stable, so no oversteer. Okay, high speed, okay, and high gear, the differential is open, but there is enough grip, okay, lateral, so the car will not go into oversteer. But because the differential is open, the wheels can rotate in different speeds with no issues. And so the car can turn. So at high speeds, an open differential lets your car turn better. Okay. At low speeds, an open differential will give less forward traction and more understeer because it just spins the inner wheel and keeps the lateral grip from the outside wheel. Locked differential. A full locked differential, okay, at slow speeds, if it can slide both wheels, it will make the car slide in power oversteer. Okay? At higher speed, when you don't have enough torque to slide both wheels, it will make the car go into understeer. So once again, lock differential, oversteer in low speed, understeer in high speed. Open differential, understeer in low speed, oversteer or better turn in high speed. Okay? Let me see if you guys understood that. I know it is difficult. It's better if I write it down somewhere. Let me know at the chat what you think about it. Now, cost differential is exactly the same thing, but going backwards. So the tires are the wheels have engine brake torque. Okay, so they try to generate again longitudinal grip, but backwards. So open differential, more turn, more turn. Okay, open differential, more turn. But if you lock for whatever reason the rear tires, it will lock only the inner one, so more stability. Uh, Lock differential costing, it means more understeer because both of them will try to brake at the same way, and the lock differential will not let the inner wheel go faster, go slower than the outer wheel. So costing, lock differential, more understeer, especially at high turns, high speed turns. Okay. All right. So what we said was the situation here. Okay. We said that my car, let's go back in the setup. We said that my car was having power oversteer at low gears, second, third gear. You saw that at second, third gear, I would go into the accelerator and I would have to correct a lot because I was going power oversteer. Why is that? We said low gear, power oversteer means that the differential was way too much locked. So it had enough torque to spin both wheels, spinning the outside wheel, power oversteer, right? And also, we said that in coasting, I had some understeer at the apex of the turn. So I had to tab, slightly touch the brakes to make the front end turn the car. Why is that? Again, lock differential. Both wheels wanted to rotate at the same way, so understeer in turn while coasting. Okay? So, correction, easy. Less power differential, let's say 3, 4 to 5 clicks, so 4 clicks, 60 Newton meters. Less preload differential. It means that initially our differential will be more open. More open means less power oversteer and less understeer in cost. Okay? Is that clear, guys? Let's see the chat. Yes, preload diff always affects both cost and power behavior, both at the same time. All right, so I've just lowered my preload to 60 Newton meters, so it will wait to have a difference in torque of 60 Newton meters, and then it will open, which is lower than 100, so it will stay locked for less time, practically. Okay, so let's try this. Again, we will use our old tire set to have an initial understanding of what happened. Okay, next session. Yes, thank you. All right. Don't cut this part. No, I won't cut anything. I never cut the whole stream, but I will cut it on the short ones. But maybe I should let it also in the short ones. Or you can do another meme, guys, that you do as usual with my idiotic parts of the live stream. That was nice. Yeah, the best part was that. Why should I change my... I mean, how can you not see the perfect example of what I'm showing, guys? I mean, why do you want a different driving view? Oh, you can't see anything. Right. Oh, God. That was really idiotic. And that's why I prefer doing the live streams and not doing, you know, pre-registered videos, because I'm pretty sure I would do something so idiotic like that, and then I would have to, you know, throw out of the window maybe, I don't know, half an hour or 1 hour of video stream that I want to edit perfectly and stuff. No, it's much better like this. I mean, where can you find a developer that is lazy, idiot, and stupid at the same time? All right, so let's get back serious. I'm warming up my tires. As I said, we now have a tiny bit more open differential, and you see already that I can control power oversteer much more easier, and actually the car goes into power oversteer much less. I mean, it's way more stable than before. Yeah. Okay, turn in on the curb, no issues. Look how smooth it slides out there. It just went like up, like no big deal. Very composed, no issues at all. Already we can see that the car reacts much better. Look at this, you see? Oh, that was so cool. And also costing not much of understeer as before, and we're still on the very worn out tires, which is, you know, very important. You see, I can keep the car inside. You see how it reacted well? Oops, that was my fault here. I just asked way too much because I was confident that the car would help me, and actually the car did help me, because you remember last time I completely lost control of the car and ended up on the wall, while now I was able to talk to you, counter steer, drift to time, no big drama at all, and the car would just, you know, let me control it. Nice. Let's do a couple of laps with those tires, and then maybe we can try fresh tires and see what's going on. Look at this. Car turns now. You see how the car turns in? Some oversteer, but nothing too dramatic. Kevin, I will answer to you just after those laps about the GT3 cars and differentials. Give me some time. Oops. First gear. Messed up there. My fault. You see? Little control, car stable, moving forward. So Kevin Blanchett asks, in GT3 cars, the differential don't go fully locked or fully opened. Absolutely not. What you see here is the preload, which means you already have inside the differential clutches that have friction and keep the differential locked both in cost and in costing, both in cost and in power. The preload is how you push those clutches together so they produce more or less friction. Okay. Now Usually those cars have a pretty open differential in power, like 15, 20, 30% of power lock. Or in degrees, it's the opposite, like 80, 90% in power. Sorry, 80 or 90 degrees, they call it like this, but forget about that. And in cost, they are very locked to keep the car stable because of the aerodynamic unbalance. This is another hint that we had, that those cars really want to rotate when you're braking and they go into pitch. So their differential in lock, in cost, go up to 95% or even 100% on many cars. So yeah, it is what it is.